Alright, so welcome back everyone to this new tutorial series where we're going to be texturing our streets. So this lecture is going to be one of the most important lectures in this tutorial series because we're going to be tackling the texture that represents more than 60% of the work. So I took the promise to make the process much more easier for you to achieve. So down below you're going to find all the texture that I baked and they are ready to be used. So download them and let's get down to it. So now we're going to be working on the asphalt. So first thing to do, I'm going to just split my scene over here and I'm going to be devoting the second part to only the shader editor, just like this. Okay, so let me just expand this one even further. Alright, so the first texture that I would like to create is the asphalt. So let's just call it over here asphalt material, just like that. And over here what I'd like to do is to bring some textures. So let me just zoom on it even more. So I've got over here all the textures that we're going to be needing in our project. You can find the link down below to download them all. So first we have the asphalt. I'm going to just drag it like this and put it over here, and also for the normal let me just put it downside. Alright, so we got the asphalt. Let me just expand this one and start working on it. So I'm going to connect the color to the color, and for the normal map we need to do this. So Shift A and let's add a normal converter, this normal map just like this, and let's connect the color to the color and the normal to the normal. And also over here I'd like to switch this one from the sRGB to the non-color, just like that. Okay, so over here let me just switch the material preview, and you can see we got something going on over here. I think it's better to split it from here so that we can so this one, switch it to the UV editor. Now as you can see, we can see our UVs, but I don't like this way of UV mapping, so I prefer this way. So hit 7 to go to the top view, so 7 and hit U from the top and go over here to project from view bounds, so that we can limit, or so that we can maximize the size of our UV, so that we can use our texture, all of it. So now as you can see we're using our texture, but as you can see the problem is we have the bumps. We can see some bumps going on, but so if we try to increase that, you can see the bumps. So for the puddles we need to do this. I'm going to be creating a new map based on this one, based on the asphalt material. So let me just take this one and we can connect it to Shift A. Let's add a color ramp. So we need to control the colors of it. So let me just connect it straight over here. And instead of connecting this one to the color, we can use another, let me just go over here to edit preferences. And for the add-ons, make sure that you are activating the node wrangler, this one, so that we can have access to some shortcuts like this one. So Control Shift and click, and we're going to be displaying this one alone. You can see that. So this is our this map. So what I'd like to do is to separate the white from the black, so that we can be able to set our puddles. So let me just control this one. Actually we must do the opposite way, something like this. So this is what I'm trying to achieve. So basically the black spots are going to be the puddles. So this is how the roughness map works. Black means glossy and white means rough. So we're going to be using this one. I'm going to just go back over here, Control Shift and click on the principal BSDF, and let me connect the color to the roughness. And 3, 2, 1. As you can see we got our puddles. Alright, so now let's do the same thing for our second part over here. So we have a road, so I'd like to do the same thing. Okay, so let me just, I'm gonna go over here and I'm gonna just choose that, which is the asphalt material, this one. As you can see it's applied to everything, so we need to set our UVs. But first let me just add over here new material, so we can hit new and let's call it default material. I'd like to just keep it white, just like this. And I'm going to select everything and assign it to it. So now we have it just like that. So now what I'd like to do is to select only the road. So we can hit Alt over here to select the entire row. And let me just apply to it that asphalt, just like this. But for the same thing, what I'd like to do is to hit U. And we can check this one first, project from view bounds. As you can see, we're going to be having some stretched puddles. In order to fix this, I'm going to be using the other one, this project from view, just like this, and I'm going to be scaling it up, something like this. Don't try to scale it like this, because this is what's going to give us a problem. So something like this is going to be fine. So now if we check, you can see that we have some nice puddles. Alright, so now let's start working on the sidewalk. So I'm going to just move our scene to the side, and this is the sidewalk texture. I'm going to just move it over here, but first we need to create a new material. So we can select our sidewalk just like this and hit new, and we can call it sidewalk texture. Alright, so let me just go to the side over here and we're gonna simply drag these two textures. First we have the diffuse. Let's just drag it like this, and down below we have the normal map. Alright, let me just maximize this window, Control Space, And let's connect the color over here to the base color. And down below, we need to connect this one to the normal, but we need that converter. So Shift A, let's add the normal map, and let me put it on top of this one. And for this one, as you can see, we need to change it from the sRGB to the non-color, just like this. Okay, and this one, let's just keep it as sRGB. Okay, so Control Space, and let's get back, and let's check our UVs. Alright, so now let's work on the UVs. So I'd like to scale them up until we have a match to our reference. So select everything. In this case, I'm gonna just go with the cube projection. So click on it, we got this type of UVs. I'm gonna need to scale them up way much. I think something like this. So we got a lot of puddles over here, you can see them in the reference. So it's kind of matching our sidewalk. Maybe scale them down a little bit. Something like that. Alright, so let me just hit 0 so as you can see. Okay, so next what we need to do right now is to start working on the puddles. But before doing that, I think we have a problems. So let me just check this sidewalk, because you can see we got this problem like this. It makes no sense. So these seams, we need to fix them. I'm gonna just select this unit, and let me just try another way of UV mapping. So let's try the unwrap. Now as you can see, those are connected, which is fine, but we need to scale them up. So let's just try S by 10. No, that's a big scale. So S by 5, for example. Let's see. Down a little bit. S.75. But we still have that problem. So I think the problem on this one, so we need to move this one to, for example, here. GY. And let's investigate that. As you can see now, we don't have that problem, which is fine. Alright, so now let's start working on the puddles. So for the puddles, I'm not going to be using the normal map, I'm going to be using this one, the diffuse. So Shift A, let's add the color ramp. Let me just put it over here, and let's connect the color straight to the factor. Oops, let's connect it back like this. And over here, let's connect this one to the roughness. Also over here, Control Space, but I think we can see the results really quick. Let me just try this way, actually the other way. Yep, something like this. You can see this, we have dry spots, not everything is glossy. So we can control that using this one, using this value. You can also control this. So basically if you move this one to the other side, it's gonna be inverting that effect. I think the black needs to be on the extreme left, and for example this one we can move it something like this. And that's fine. Alright, so let's do the same thing for our back sidewalks. This one, these over here. So I'm gonna just add a new material, or also we can change or replace the default material with our asphalt. So asphalt, not asphalt, but sidewalk texture, this one. So as you can see, it's applied on the spot because we're having some UVs, but let's control them. So as you can see, we have in the road selected, so Control E to reverse the selection, and I'm gonna hit U and cube projection. Okay, so we got this, and I'm gonna just select my UVs and scale them up to something like this. But also you can see that we got a problem. So these puddles over here, they look like they are inverted outside, not inside. So in order to fix this, you can try this. So go over here to Mesh, Normals, and recalculate outside. And as you can see, they are inverted. So the next material that we got on our list, which is the garage. So I'm gonna just bring it over here. So sidewalk, this garage over here. But first, let's create that new material. So I'm gonna select my building. So first I'd like to give our building that default material, and after that we can add the other materials. So let's add the garage texture. Garage texture. Alright, so we got it, and over here I'm gonna just bring those textures. So let me just move this one to the side. We got the diffuse, and down below we got the normal map. Alright, so let me just maximize this one. Control Space. Connect the color to the base color and the color to the normal. As you can see, this is just a repetitive process. So normal over here, normal map. Let's put it on top of this and switch this one to the non-color. So Control Space, let's get back. And what I'd like to do is to select only this face, select this one, and let's hit assign. As you can see, we got it, but we need to work on those UVs. So the best way to do this is we need to go to the front of this building. So let me just hit 3 on the numpad. As you can see, maybe you can have it on the front. So maybe 1, should be 1 or 3. So over here I'm gonna hit U and project from view. As you can see, we got it. So I'm gonna select these UVs over here. I'm gonna scale them up until we got a match. So let me just hit 0 and check based on our reference. As you can see, we got a match. But also for the colors, I'd like to work a little bit on the color. I think I made a mistake of making it look like brown material. But for the bumps, as you can see, we don't have that much bumps over here. So I think I'm gonna just reduce this one to 0.5. There we go. But also over here, I'd like to add the color. So Shift A, let's add the color ramp. I'm gonna put it on top of this color, base color, and we can control the color of our garage. So for example, the white, let me just give it a little bit bluish, or even like this. I am pretty aware that this color is affected by the lighting, but in order to achieve that good result, I'd like to make it as a little bit as close to it. So something like bluish and dark bluish or something like this. Also over here, I'd like to make it metallic, so I'm gonna just increase this value, make it 1. I think 1 is a little bit too much, 0.75. As you can see, it's getting dark, so let's try to make this one a little bit lighter. Something like this, but also I think it's time to increase this one, 0.75, so that we aren't gonna be losing too much details. Let me just make these closer a little bit to see if it's gonna be better or not. So this is just experimenting. Yep, I like this effect. So making it closer looks good. Also for the roughness, I think we need to make it a little bit reflective. Not that much, but for example, 0.25. Also, let me try this. I'm gonna just connect this one. Control space, connect this one to the roughness, just to see the results we're gonna be having. And I think it looks fine. But as you can see from here, the bumps looks a little bit high. So what about 0.25? It looks nice. 0.25 looks fine. Alright, so I'm gonna just proceed with this one. Now let's work on the tiles. So the other material that we got over here, which is the tiles. So we need to assign it to this area. So let's add over here the new material. Let's call it tiles texture. Okay. And let's bring those textures again, the tiles, this one. So first we got the views, down below the normal map. I'm gonna just repeat the same process. Okay, let's get back and let's assign it to this spot. So select the tile and let's assign it to there. As you can see, we got it, but the UVs are messed up. So what we need to do is to go to the side view so that we can go to the front of those tiles. Let me just check, switch to the wireframe. Actually, we are on the side, so 1. Now as you can see, we can see them. You can see this one. So I'm gonna hit U and project from view. Just switch back to the material preview. As you can see, we got it. So over here, I'm gonna just scale it until we match the ref. So let's scale everything up. Something like this. It looks fine. Alright, let's work on the roughness. I'd like to make it a little bit glossy. But let me check the bumps. Yeah, it's a little bit bumpy. Let me try to increase this, but as you can see, we forgot to add the converter, so normal map. Let me just put it on top of that. Now as you can see, we got some good bumps. Can increase it from here. I think 1 is fine. But for the glossiness, I'd like to, let's use for example, color ramp. Connect this one right here. Shift Control Shift and click on this one so that we can see. I think it looks fine. So let me just proceed and connect to the roughness. Control Shift and go back to the roughness. As you can see, the material looks fine. But for the bumps, I think we need to reduce it back. So something like 0.5. Even down. 0.2. It looks fine. Yeah, I like it. Okay, so now I'd like to work on the concrete that we got on our building, this side over here. So let me just first bring the reference again, but first I always forget to create the new material. Let me just create this one and plus icon over here. Let's call it concrete texture. And let's just move these. First one, the normal map, the confuse and the diffuse and the normal map. Let me just move them over here. Connect the base color to the base color, and over here Shift A, let's use the normal map again. Put it over here. I'm pretty sure there is a way to. Okay, let's connect the normal map to the normal control space. Get back. Always, let's not forget to switch this one to the non-color so that we can make it look even better. And now let's work on. I'm gonna just assign it to the asphalt. So I'm gonna select over here the entire building, just like this. And also over here I'm gonna be deselecting the tiles. Deselect, you can see this option, and also the garage. Also I need to deselect this one, so this one's gonna be some kind of glass material. Alright, so let's assign the concrete to the rest, just like this. Also, as you can see, we got some stretching over here. So I'd like to change the type of UV mapping, so hit U, and let me just proceed with the cube projection. I think this looks fine. Also, let me just try to decrease the amount of normal map, something like 0.25, and it looks fine. Also, if you want to control the colors, as always, you can add over here a color ramp, Shift A, and add a color ramp, and you can put it on top of that, and you can control from here the colors. For example, if you want to make it red or something like that. So later on for these, we're going to be changing its color, make it a little bit darker. Alright, so we got this. So now what I would like to do is I'm going to be assigning the same material to this object. So select this one using the Alt key and let's assign to it that material. So as you can see, we have some stretching. So U, cube projection, and I think it looks fine right on the spot. You can also duplicate this material, and for example, you can increase the amount of normal map, make it bumpy. You can see that over here it looks bumpy. You know what, let's do that. So I'm gonna add a new material over here. Let's search for concrete, this one, and I'm gonna hit this duplicate button. So just click on it and let's change its color, make it number 2. And I'm gonna be assigning it to this one, so assign, and from here I'm gonna set it to 1, make it look bumpy. So if we hit 0, you can see that it's bumpy over here. That's nice. So for the third one, the one on the back, the building on the back, I'm gonna just do the same thing. So let's use the concrete texture number 2. And for example, also I think the color looks a little bit dark. So we can select this one, let's make it less dark. Select this one, make it white a little bit. Now actually it's the first one. Just select this one and make it a little bit white. Okay, so for the third one, this one. So I'm gonna just duplicate that material. Let's call it number 3, texture number 3, and over here I'm gonna just make it way dark, something like this. Same thing on the edit mode, hit U and cube projection. And as you can see, we got all our concrete material applied. For the back building over here, I'd like to do a quick trick. So we're gonna be using the same tiles that we got over here, these tiles. So if we zoom over here to our reference, you can see that we got these small tiles. So I'm going to be using that material, so tiles, this one, and what I'd like to do is to duplicate this one. I'm going to just duplicate from here and let's make it number 2. Also over here for the UV mapping, I think it's already set, so you can hit U, go to cube projection and simply scale it up on the UVs to something like this. Okay, so now what I'd like to do is to control the colors. So I'm going to just duplicate this color ramp, Shift D, put it on top of this one. And for example, let's make it look first, we need to make it look bluish. So let me select this one, give it that blue color, something like that. Let's move it to the side. Also, we can add a new material. Let's make it completely white. It's gonna make a nice effect. Let's try this one. Nope, not that good. Let me try to switch places. Yep, something like this. From distance, let me check. I think we have too much. The white is dominating over here. Let me try to add a new one. Basically, if you want to add a new handle, you can hit Control and click. Basically, if you want to remove it, you can remove this one. Also, you can use this button. So I'm gonna just pick this color over here. Yes, we have less of that white. Let me just make these closer a little bit to it. I think now it looks fine. Yeah, I like this result over here. Alright, so now we're going to be working on the other components. For example, we have this gate over here. We're going to be assigning to it some red material. Alright, so let's work on that. So select that object, go over here and let's add a new material. Let's call it metallic red. red metallic or something like that. So for the color, let me just we can also pick eyedropper and pick the color that we got over here, that red, but as you can see it looks a little bit different, so I prefer to adjust it a little bit. Let's make it red. And also over here, let me just adjust the metallic. I think we need to go something like 0.7. For the roughness, I'm gonna just decrease it down to make it, as you can see, it's glossy. You can see over here the reflection of the light. So over here, what about 0.3? 0.3 is gonna be fine. Okay, so let's say 0 so that you can see the reflection, and I think it's fine. But also over here on the ground, on the bottom side of this gate, as you can see, we're having a different material. So what I'd like to do is to assign to it this concrete material that we got over here. So let's first, with this one selected, let me just add the new material. So we can hit over here that plus icon, and let's add over here the concrete texture number 3. I think this one is the 3, because as you can see it's looking a little bit dark. So I'm gonna just select these units using the L key, just like this. Make sure to select everything and assign to it that one, and as you can see we got it. Also now let's work on these sewage caps. So I've already having this reference over here, sewage caps. So let me just add over here sewage cap texture like this, and let's just bring this one. Also let's find our principal BSDF. I'm gonna just drag it like this and connect the color to the color. Okay, so we got this. But as you can see, I already UV mapped it. As you can see, it's perfect. So I'm gonna just screw that up. So let's start, for example, cube projection, and go to the top view. I'm gonna be selecting each face alone. For example, this one, hit U and project from view bounds. Okay, so we got it, and I'm gonna zoom on our UVs. So let me maximize this window. So I'm gonna just scale these down until it fits that sewage cap, just like that. So I'm gonna be doing the same thing, or we can duplicate. You can simply duplicate this one twice. But before doing that, I'd like to make some tweakings. So for example, on the side over here, I would like to make it a little bit metallic. So let's add first. I'm gonna take this value over here to 1 to make it pure metallic. Okay, so now I'd like to make the bumps. So I'm gonna be Shift A, adding a bump node, this one, and let's connect the color over here to the height, and over here the normal to the normal, just so that we can have, as you can see, we're having some bumps. It's looking fine. Also, I'm gonna be decreasing that amount to something like 0.25. Okay, so as you can see, we're having some bumps. Same thing for this sign over here. I'm gonna just let's zoom on it first. Let's add a new material. Let's call it stop sign, and let me just bring that reference again. This one, I'm gonna just drag it over here and connect the color to the color. Okay, we got it. As you can see, I already did that. I'm gonna just do something else, for example, over here. So what we need to do is to select first this unit, hit 1 so that we can go to the front, and hit U and project from bounds. So now we got it. I'm gonna just select it and reduce it down until we got that. But for the rest of it, so we need to assign another material. I'm gonna just add a new material. Let's call it metal. So I already did that, but you can call it number 2, because we're going to be adding a lot of metallic objects around in our scene. So for this one, I'm going to just increase that metallic to 1. But first, let me just assign it to the body of our sign, just like this. And also, I'd like to make it a little bit glossy. Alright, and also for the color of it, let's make it a little bit gray. And as you can see, we're having some nice metallic. Okay, so I'm going to be assigning the same material to the other objects, all those objects in our scene, the pipes, everything. Also for these guns over here, I'm going to be adding new material, gun. So we have a different kind of UV mapping over here. So let me just show you that. So I'm going to just bring this one, red gun. So I'm going to be just connecting the color to the base color. As you can see, we have some weird UV mapping. So on the edit mode, let's select everything, hit U and unwrap. Actually, it's not working. Cube projection. So the cube projection works best for this one. Also for the bottom side, I'm gonna just select this unit, also this one, not just the bottom one. And over here, control space, let me just select this one, scale it way down and make it only orange, just like this. As you can see, the bottom side is orange. Alright, so basically that's it. So we learn how to texture all the components in our scene. So in the next lecture, we're going to be working on the lighting so that we can achieve this final result. This one, by the way, is in EV render. We're going to learn how to do that. So stay tuned for the coming tutorials.